welcome back, watch people. Now, one of the biggest issues that all watch buyers and sellers face is the fact that the vast majority of the public won't really know how to categorise the condition of a watch that they're either buying or they're selling. Now, of course, there are 1,001 different permutations, possible permutations that would genuinely evaluate correctly and accurately the condition of a watch. But having spent many years in the business, both buying and selling, looking at watches that I want to buy, looking at watches that the general public have been trying to sell me, from a layman's terms viewpoint, I've come to the conclusion that there are basically 5 categories that the vast majority of watches will sit within. What I've tried to do is I've tried to break those 5 categories down into simple, easy to understand categories that will genuinely assist you in appraising the condition of a watch, whether it be a watch that you're trying to buy or whether it be a watch that you're trying to sell. Now, there are 1,001 different permutations, obviously, and it's very difficult to condense all of this information into such a short space, into such a brief periodical, if you like. But what I've done is I've put it at the bottom of my web page, of my homepage on my website, which is www.watchdealers.com. If you go right down to the bottom, there's a PDF there that you can download. Well worth downloading, print it off, keeping it, study it, have a look at it, and try and learn more about these 5 different categories. Now, this is designed really to be a brief, simple, but almost like, an accurate guide for you guys. And let me tell you what these 5 different categories are. They are very poor, average, very good, and mint. Now, of those 5 categories, I am almost certain that 99.9% of the watches that you will ever handle will fit into one of these 5 categories. Now, before we go any further, let me tell you something. The public's general perception of condition is usually hugely inaccurate. In general, the selling public will describe their watch as being very good, when in truth, what they are selling will usually fit into categories that are slightly lower. Often poor, usually they fit into the average bracket. Now, that's the most common scenario. This is not necessarily a dishonest description by the seller. It's more likely just an uneducated one. And when describing their watch, commonly sellers will miss or will choose to ignore issues such as marks or chips to the glass, timekeeping issues, marks to the bezel, band stretch. These are all issues that would take a watch out of the very good category and relegate them into a lower one. Now, it's your job, the buyer's job, to spot and point out these issues using your jeweler's loupe and adjust the price accordingly. And if you can learn these 5 steps carefully and learn how to use that jeweler's loupe, you can come to a far better educated decision as to what category a watch sits within, genuinely sits within, and any potential purchase price could be adjusted accordingly. So let's start, and we'll go back to those 5 categories: very poor, average, very good, and mint. And we'll start off with the bottom one, which is very poor. Now, for me, a watch that is in very poor condition will show signs of most of the issues that I'm about to mention, and that will be a badly stretched bracelet. Realistically, that bracelet is going to require a repair or even replacement. The glass is damaged and requires replacement. The movement needs a service. The bezel's damaged. The case is dented or badly marked. And this would be a situation where even with a professional refinish, those dents are just too deep to remove. The dial could potentially be damaged or marked. The hands may also have discoloration or be damaged. And in general, the watch is in pretty poor condition. Now, basically, a watch that fits into this very poor category will have the first signs that you will see is an extremely poor and badly stretched bracelet. That's the first telltale sign of a watch that's going to sit into the very poor price bracket or the very poor condition bracket. So let's move on to poor. Now, the bracelet on a poor watch is generally quite stretched, but wearable with some care. The glass will probably be marked, the bezel lightly marked, the case will have scratches and little marks on it that will mostly be able to be removed with a refinish. The movement hasn't been serviced for years. It's running without any stoppage or date change issues, but it's not keeping particularly good time, losing or gaining 5 minutes or more a week. And generally the watch is going to require a fair bit of attention, but it's still wearable. And again, the biggest telltale sign is the bracelet. Again, the bracelet really is the giveaway, and I'm going to do a separate video on the condition of a Rolex bracelet in particular, and that's going to be really vital to watch that video in conjunction with this one. So then we move into the middle bracket, which is average, and this is the bracket where the vast majority of watches that the public would bring in to sell would sit within. Now, an average watch, the condition of an average watch is a watch that has been worn regularly and shows honest signs of wear. That means light surface marks to the bracelet and case that could relatively easily be removed with a professional refinish. The bracelet shows some signs of wear and some stretch in keeping with its age. The timekeeping is within about a minute a week. The glass is undamaged. The bezel is reasonably sharp and clean without any obvious dents, dings, marks or scratches, at least to the naked eye. Now, the average watch will show more signs of damage under the jeweller's loupe, but I'm talking now about eye clean. So the average condition, really, the watch needs to be eye clean, pleasant to the eye, no huge amounts of band stretch, and just generally looking like a honest worn watch. Now we then move into the category very good. Now, a watch that is in very good condition shows very little signs of wear, extremely light or virtually no surface marks to the case or the bracelet. The bracelet shows hardly any signs of stretch. The timekeeping is as per manufacturer specification. The glass is undamaged. The bezel is sharp and clean without any damage either to the naked eye or under a loupe. And a very low level touch up or wipe over would bring this watch back into mint, like virtually new condition. And that is what I would class as a watch when it is very good. And then we get to the top condition. Of course, that is the most desirable of all, but the hardest to find. Now, a watch that is in mint condition, and this watch would show virtually no signs of any wear either to the eye or under a jeweller's loupe. This watch is unworn or virtually unworn. The timekeeping, of course, is factory spec, and with a simple wipe over with just a jeweller's cloth, this watch could easily pass as being brand new and unworn. The watch could even still have some factory stickers on it, or has clearly been a safe queen for all of its life. And everything about this watch looks and feels like it's been untouched by the hand, and it could also be described as new old stock. Now, I've gone through those 5 categories fairly quickly, and I wouldn't expect you to understand or to have taken all that in such a short space of time. That's why I'd like you to download that document and to study it and compare it to your watch. What do you think, where do you think your watch sits within those 5 categories? Now, if your watch is more than 7 years of age and you've worn that watch fairly regularly, my guess is that you might be surprised. Your watch probably fits into the average condition. And previously, before watching this video, you maybe have described your watch as being very good or even mint. But the truth of the matter, it's probably not. It could certainly be, with a professional refinish, it could certainly be brought up to being very good, at least, if not mint, depending on its age. But the interesting test here is use my guide here to evaluate the condition of your watch, of your own watch, and any other watches that you have, or any other watches that you can get hold of for the purpose of this video, and genuinely and honestly try and appraise the condition of your watch. What is the band stretch like? What are the surface marks like? Are there any indentations, dents, dings, marks that you think couldn't easily be polished out? These will all relegate the condition of your watch into a slightly lower category. Now, of course, condition can also be relative, can't it? You wouldn't expect to buy a mint watch for far less than it's truly worth. And you wouldn't expect to buy a 1977 Datejust in mint condition because of its age. And if you did find it in mint condition, genuine mint condition, then it would be worth a premium. And if a watch is extremely rare, obviously the condition is relative. It has to be taken into consideration. You can't find necessarily a holy grail in mint condition. When you find a holy grail and you want that holy grail, you have to pretty much accept it for what it is. So I'm talking about general watch terms, watches that are pretty much freely available on the pre-owned market. So where's the best value? Where is the best value? If you was going to go out today and try and buy a pre-owned watch, where is the very best value for you out of those 5 condition categories? I would probably say, in general, that the best value for money is going to be found in the average condition. And the reason why is because a watch that is genuinely in average condition, and let's go through that spec once again, average, a watch that has been worn regularly and shows signs of honest wear only, light surface marks to the bracelet and the case that are relatively easy to remove with a professional refinish. The bracelet shows signs of wear and a little bit of stretch in keeping with its age. The timekeeping is decent. The glass is undamaged. The bezel is reasonably sharp and clean without any obvious dents, dings, marks or scratches, at least to the naked eye. Now, if you buy a watch that is in genuinely average condition, a service by Rolex or a refinish by a professional refinisher will quite easily bring that watch right up into the very good condition, almost possibly into mint condition, but the slight amount of stretch that's on the bracelet is always going to relegate it back down really to the very good category. That would be my opinion. A watch that I would really advise that you left alone is a watch that is certainly in the very poor category, because a very poor watch where the bracelet is badly stretched and really needs replacing or a repair, that's going to be a very difficult job unless you're going to ditch the bracelet and wear the watch on a strap. The glass is damaged on a very poor watch, that of course can be replaced. The movement needs a service, that can be done. The bezel is damaged, that's an issue. I mean, you've got to study each one of these categories and make a decision as to what category you would be prepared to buy a watch from. Would you be prepared to buy a watch from the very poor category? Personally, I wouldn't. The very lowest category that I would potentially buy a watch, and that's only if it had a lot of potential, would be poor. Poor is okay if the watch is quite rare. If, for instance, you'll often find that the head of the watch is actually in far better condition than the bracelet. Now, the bracelet could potentially be repaired, and if it's an exceptionally nice dial and a very nice head, you could ditch the bracelet, of course, or just keep it nice and separate, potentially send it away for repair, and wear it on a leather strap. So poor condition is not the end of the world, but in general, I would say that really you want to be at least in the average condition bracket. That would be my advice. Now, as I say, that document is available for download at the bottom of my website. It's quite brief, it's quite short. I've tried to keep it simple, layman's terms understandable. Guys, if you think I've missed anything, I've called it version 1. If you think I've missed anything that's really vital and really easy for people to understand, because this is the key. I mean, I could write a book on this topic, but it would literally be a book. And what I wanted to produce, something that was free of charge, easy to get hold of, easy to pass around, easy to understand. And I think this gets reasonably close to it at least. But if you think I've missed anything, let me know, and I can always put it in version 1.1. And I will update this as we go along, and we'll try it together. We'll try and get to basically the perfect layman's guide to appraising the condition of a watch. And don't forget also, guys, to go over and watch the video that I did about how to properly appraise the condition of a watch. I'll put a link into that down below. That video is simply a must watch. So I hope you enjoyed that, and don't forget, keep your eyes out for the video that I'm going to be doing very shortly on how to appraise the condition of a Rolex bracelet. That too is going to be vital in addition to the information that I've already given you today. Thanks for watching, and we'll speak again soon.